Hello everybody, Jordan here, the PH is silent. We are continuing with the lore and history of the Scarred Lands. If you haven't checked out part 1, I'd recommend you check the top right corner and go watch that first. In this video, we're talking about the nation of Ghelspad and the races of the Scarred Lands. In our last video, we talked about the overall history of Scarn, the planet where the Scarred Lands campaign takes place. The Titans and the gods fought a vicious war involving mortals, and the Titans created Titan spawn to fight for their cause. After the Titans lost this war, these Titan spawn scattered across Scarn. The gods are the sole rulers of Scarn now, fueled by the worship of their mortal followers. Although there are many locations within Scarn, your campaign might gravitate towards the continent of Ghelspad. Not the largest, but it certainly is the most populated. Ghelspad was hit hard by the Divine War. The landscape twisted and changed. Green plains of grass and trees are now desolate wastelands. Mighty forests are shriveled and full of blighted trees. Over the last 150 years since the Divine War, the mortals of Ghelspad have spent that time rebuilding cities and societies. The mortals found themselves banded together during the Divine War, and now they are left with a strange new future together. Many of the nations of Ghelspad are tired of fighting. Other physical changes occurred around Ghelspad. The Eastern Sea turned blood red due to the Titan named Kadum. His Eker bled out into the sea. The old Ledian Empire had a great capital city named Aramar that was swallowed up into the earth. The entire continent is still covered in Titan spawn, who still fight for their defeated masters. The war may be over, but their loyalty to the Titans is everlasting. After victory of the Divine War, the Titans were defeated. The Jinn were sealed away in their elemental cities, and the gods set to fixing the world the best they could, setting the moons back into orbit, the sun moving again, the sands of time flowing, and the seasons were reconstructed. It was an amazing, magical time to be alive, to witness the gods firsthand shaping the new world. The gods also declared the divine Truce, which ensured a limited peace between the nations and the gods, preventing what many saw as the immediate inter-pantheon war of the gods. The nations of Ghelspad spent the first few decades rebuilding civilization. Peace did not last, and in 82 AV, or after victory, the Druid War erupted. Cannibalistic druids allied with scattered Titan spawn and attacked several cities in Ghelspad. It wasn't until 90 AV that the druids were driven back, but not fully defeated, to their homeland. Their army dispersed. Despite this new threat, the communities of Ghelspad did not unite together, and efforts of peace have struggled to maintain order. Empires want to grow, and in order to grow, you must conquer. And there is the ever-present threat of the cultish loyalists of the Titans. There is more history during the 150 years since the Divine War, and more city-states located in Ghelspad. You can find out the rest of this information in the Scarred Lands Player's Guide. It is the best resource for your Scarred Lands game. The Divine Races, after the war, offered asylum to the Titan spawn that denounced the Titans and agreed to worship the gods instead. This brings some unique playable races to the Scarred Lands campaign setting. These Titan spawn races were known as the Redeemed, and they are the Asathi, Ironbred, Orcs, and Slytherin. There are, of course, the core D&D races such as Dwarves, Elves, Humans, and Halflings. The Dwarves of Ghelspad are in two groups, the Charduni and the Kelder. The Charduni dwarves enslaved other creatures when they first came to Ghelspad, so bad blood remains between those dwarves and the Halflings and Orcs. They have made strides to repair these relationships. The Kelder Dwarves are also known as mountain dwarves, and they live in the Kelder Mountains and are generally liked with all the races. But let's talk about some of the unique races of the Scarred Lands. The Asathi are serpent-like humanoids that served the Titan Mormo for years. After Mormo fell, they had free will for the first time and still struggle with how to utilize their freedom. They live together in clans and travel in large social units. These serpent folk gravitate to no specific D&D alignment. The Hollow Legionnaires are spirits bound into a suit of armor to complete a task on Scarn. These lingering spirits have no memory of their mortal life, but generally know how the world works, learned from their previous life. A soul bound to a suit of armor providing a physical form, these are constructs, creatures who don't need to eat, drink, or sleep. They've existed for only a few decades, staying in the gleaming valley where they call home. The Ironbred are bloodthirsty raiders from the Ukrudan desert. They seek to redefine themselves after denouncing the Titan that created them. They are taller than humans and have a horse-like head and hooved feet. These people are slow to trust but have intense loyalty to those they respect. Many are hermits or lone travelers wandering Ghelspad. Manticora are sentient lion folk. They look almost like a cross between cats and humans. They are nomadic people collectively living in prides that are led by the strongest males of the group, although females have started to rule as well. They form small towns and villages, occasionally living in the perforated plains. Finally, the Slytherin are rat folk-like humanoids that are probably the youngest races of Scarn. Also known as rat folk, they were little more than mindless beasts created by the Titan Churn, but in a short amount of time, they evolved into intelligent and cunning creatures. After the Divine War, the rat folk found themselves awakened, no longer under control from their Titan masters. Being so new, they have little culture or history all their own, and are adjusting to being more than just slaves to the Titans. And that's where we'll end today. If you're interested in the Scarred Lands, check out the links in the description below. The Scarred Lands Player's Guide really is the best place to start. Check out their Kickstarter for a Scarred Lands monster manual called the Creature Collection. Tons of new and interesting monsters to use for your D&D 5e campaign. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you next week with another video.